Okay, you guys ready? Hold on. What's up, freak bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be watching? Thank you for giving us just a few minutes of your time. Sorry for a little bit of a late start, but I'm finally figuring out this whole interface thing between the new software that I've been using to broadcast and YouTube, and both of them are being a little bit bitchy, but hey, here we are. And here to talk with me about Episode 2 of Falcon the Winter Soldier is the Dowager Countess herself, Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
I'm good. Overwhelmed with puppy stuff, but that's life when you get a dog. Otherwise, great weather. I watched the show today. Looking forward to talking about it.
Absolutely, I am looking forward to it as well. And here to talk about it with me is, as always, my hetero life mate, Jeremy Wolner. What's going on to you, man?
I'm here.
You're here. Why do you look so emo today?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just your generation?
This is opposed. This is opposed to any other day. Like you just now asked that question.
Yeah.
I've been that way for quite a while.
You're not usually emo. You're usually still very
We're
excitable.
sad.
You're not so sad.
That's personality. I can be excitable and bullshit, but I can still be sitting here wearing my dark shit and my Nirvana shirt. It's a little bit of splash of color.
And he's got an assistant
Grungy,
today.
but there is color.
He's got
Yeah.
a dog
Oh,
with
and
him
the-
today.
And the Seether flag in the background, that is definitely not mine. Yeah, she's somewhere. She jumped down. She'll be back. She'll be back. I'm sure.
She'll be back, and when she comes back, she can talk with us about finally getting a real-life intro to the new Captain America. His name is John Walker. I think that's his name, right? Let me get it again real quick to make sure. I had all my
Yes,
stuff
John
in front
Walker.
of me, and then I started screwing around. Yes, his name is John Walker. He's played by Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son. I think we talked about that a little bit in the last episode. But we finally get a full-on introduction to him. Now, as much shit as we were getting, or as we were giving this guy, rather, as a fan community, when he first walked out last year with his, weird, stupid, goofy grin and almost no chin, you do kind of feel, you kind of connect to this guy a little bit right in the beginning of this episode. He comes out, the first place you see him is you see him in the locker room getting ready for this big introduction interview he's doing. And you see him talking with his wife, you see him talking with his partner, his army buddy, and you're kind of... It's that point where you're starting to connect with him a little bit at a personal level, and you start to find out that he is very aware of the name that he now carries. He's very aware what being Captain America really means, and he already, from the very beginning, he feels a great deal of pressure from it. It's pretty clear. Cora, did you take the same thing from that scene?
Yeah, I did. He almost described himself as the ultimate perfect candidate. And he seemed to have everything to back it up, from that Ginger Vargas or whatever her name is, Ginger Z, whatever, from ABC interview at his high school, and everything she said about his resume. He seems like there's nothing shady about him or anything. He seems believable. Yes. That's the best way to put it.
Jeremy, what were some of your initial thoughts as we finally kind of start connecting a little bit with this new guy?
Well, yeah, he was definitely in there. Knees weak, arms were heavy, mom spaghetti. So he's feeling it too. Because I was kind of like left off with, the whole, hey, they need the new Captain America, and he just walks out like a cocky little bastard and just fourth wall break, winks at everybody, and I'm like, oh, okay, dude, all right. So I was kind of with Sam and Bucky too. I was like, man, fuck you. You're not Steve Rogers. You're not Chris Evans. Fuck yourself. And they kind of carried that, and he did. I may be getting ahead of myself, but he did get a little douchey at the end. So I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe they're not entirely unjustified. He kind of slipped into that real fast, but he did seem. It's not just them. It's like he also kind of realizes, yeah, I'm trying to be Captain America, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, there are definitely some interesting questions about him that we end up with when this episode is all said and done. But one of the things that I notice is, at least hearing him talk to his wife in the locker room, hearing him talk to his buddy, hearing some of the conversations that he has over the course of this episode, he seems on the surface very aware of what he's there for, what his purpose is.
Yeah.
And he tries to explain that a couple of times to Bucky and Sam. He tries, he talks to his friend about it. And he seems like he's not just there to be the star-spangled man with the plan, which was a nice little line to the original Captain America, First Avenger. But he knows that he's not there to sell war bonds. He knows that he's there to do something significant. And he definitely wants to. Not only that, I mean, you can't shit on this guy's resume. I mean, 3 medals of honor and all kinds of, they kind of went down his whole sheet. And, he's not just some guy who looks the part. He is kind of a badass in his own right. So,
yeah,
you do kind of, just on the surface, it looks like he kind of fits the role. Now, whether you like seeing him with the shield or not, I mean, there's more to it. We know that there's more to it than just, can he take over as Captain America and be that guy? But that remains to be seen as to whether he can actually live up to the responsibility that they've given him. But we're gonna see as we move on into the series exactly how he fills out those shoes, because even he knows that it's not going to be an easy thing to do. He makes that pretty clear. But moving on from that, we finally get Bucky and Sam out on their first mission. So after the events of the first episode, it's become pretty clear to Sam that there's some shady shit going on with this group of people, whoever they are. This hand with the world in the painting. I don't know, what do they call themselves again? The Flag Smashers.
The Flag Smashers. I finally remembered it this time.
Yeah, the Flag Smashers, I think is what it was.
Yes.
But Sam, goes to check out, try to get some intel. He has an idea as to where some of these people are, so he wants to go learn some shit about them. And Bucky just kind of tags along. And this is one, that whole scene where they're talking at the military base before they get on the transport ship and go, I thought was kind of funny. I was like, for one, how does Bucky just walk into a military
it indicates
base?
They haven't stayed in touch since the shield was given back. They have not stayed in touch.
Well, the first thing that jumped in my mind is how does Bucky just walk into a military base? Now, I don't know if he's still active military or whatever, but my question was, because I could almost literally throw a baseball from my front yard to the nearest military base to the fence line, and I can't just walk on that base without somebody saying, hey, what are you doing here? And I don't, now maybe it's because he's still in the military, he's still connected somehow, I don't know. But I was just kind of like, really? He was pardoned by the president for all kinds of crazy shit. It's pretty clear they know who he is. How's he just going to walk into a military base? But then again, he is the Winter Soldier after all.
He's an Avenger.
So maybe he found a way in without any security even noticing. But that was just me. But he has this conversation with Sam, and this is where they first start to air out some of their differences. He's obviously aggravated that there is this new guy. Part of it is the fact that Sam gave up the shield. He wants to know some of Sam's reasons. Sam, whether you agree with him or not, he doesn't really tell Bucky much other than the fact that, it's just none of your damn business. I gave up the shield. It was my thing, and I don't have to give you any details about it. So this is kind of where they're at right now. Bucky feels a little betrayed. Sam, I think he felt somewhat the same thing that maybe Walker is feeling right now. Like, am I worthy? He understood what that commitment was to carry that shield. And to do the job. And, I think it is kind of this weird, symbolism of this thing that coexists between the two, this, doubt as to whether you have what it takes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. It's just they want to get the job done and they want to do good things, but I don't think they get along well enough to work smoothly together yet. They're not cohesive.
Yeah, they went a long way towards kind of building their shit up a little bit. I mean, what did you think about that first interaction that we've seen in the series so far between Bucky and Sam, Jeremy?
Well, they had me laughing my ass off because they bicker like a fucking married couple, and it's always wonderful it's just listening to them two talk.
The odd couple.
They fucking really are.
Odd couple.
I was waiting for this because I'm like, this is the fucking show that I'm just like, this is gonna be great. Watching these two try to buddy cop it up a little bit, because like it reminds me of like how me and Zach bicker, and Zach are fucking Frank knows what I'm talking about. It seemed very much like conversations we probably had.
Yeah, it's funny to watch. It's very amusing. I'll agree.
Yeah,
but it also
I do understand both both of their sides. Like Sam's like, I just did what I thought was right because I don't think I can do this. But he's like, dude, it's not right. He gave you that shield though. That's the point. Is he trusted you with this? So.
Well, and Bucky does later on in the episode, and we'll get to this here in a few minutes. He does make it pretty clear why it bothers him the way it does, and I thought that was by far the best scene of the series so far. I know we're only 2 episodes into it, but that is by far the best episode of this, or best scene of this series so far. But it to me it did a couple things. Number one, it made very clear why this animosity and how thick the animosity is. Why it exists between these two right now. And just how deep it really is. I mean, the why is the easy part. It's getting through it. It's kind of peeling all the layers back to what the stressful part of their relationship is. And kind of like, how do you navigate that over the course of this series to get to where we really want to, where we're ultimately going to go at the end of the series. The other, excuse me, the other thing it did was it established very much the theme of this show. We talk a lot about themes with Marvel, how, Captain America is like, it became kind of the political thriller, Thor is like this space, whatever, mythological shit. WandaVision, very much the theme was the television through the years. This is absolutely a buddy cop series. I was getting hints of like Tango and Cash and Beverly Hills Cop, and kind of the little funny jabs that go back and forth between the two of them. It's like that's kind of what I was getting, and that's
lethal.
Yeah, that's definitely
some Lethal Weapon shit too.
Yeah, that's
almost like a male version of Laverne and Shirley working together.
Yeah. That's a great comparison. But yeah, I mean, it really
they're
is.
Thelma and Louise off a cliff somewhere.
Yeah, it really is kind of this odd couple buddy
that's
cop. Kind of
Thelma and
weird
Louise. Thelma and Louise. That's a movie, Thelma and Louise. When I say Laverne and Shirley, it's a TV show that was a spin-off from Happy Days.
It was.
Right.
But yeah, they do establish the theme very, very quickly. But, as they go off on this mission, obviously, and you guys can see some of the pictures that are rotating on the screen right now, they come across this group of people that are moving what appear to be some kind of medications or vaccines or something medical of some kind. I think there's some vaccines and medications. And they find out that these are not just a group of eco-terrorists that are doing some nefarious shit. This is an entire group of super soldiers that are, for reasons we do not yet know, are stealing these medical supplies to do whatever they're going to do with. And so when they try to approach these guys and put the beat down on them, they find out really, really quickly that they are super soldiers, highly trained, very tough, and they are not going to be pushovers. That whole fight scene,
not at all.
That whole fight scene leading up to the new Captain America and his buddy rolling up there was kind of funny at first. What did you guys think of kind of the first half of that whole sequence with the whole truck chase going down that little highway or wherever?
First of all, when he first opens up the door and he thinks he's found this hostage, and she gives him this like, oh, and then she gets this look on her face like, I'm gonna kick your ass. That was a great non-verbal, like, complete paradigm shift. It was fantastic. It was short and sweet, but I liked it. Very good acting. And the girl's pretty badass, and it makes you really wonder, who is she? Who are these people? How did they get this way? Didn't they kill all those people in the tanks in the Civil War movie? What's this all about? And so the fact that all of them had their asses handed to them and are walking down the road or driving back to the airport tells you this is going to be a great, mysterious first question of who are these people? Why are they doing this? And so it finally gets the ball rolling past the introductions of the limited series. Like, okay, now we're getting to the meat of it here. So I liked it.
Yeah, Jeremy,
it was Enfys Nest. It was Enfys Nest. If you know, you know. You know exactly what I'm talking about because it's the same goddamn girl. So as I saw her, I'm like, motherfucker, she's gonna be this. I'm sorry, but I'm like, you're gonna be the same typecast character again, aren't you? Where you're like, hey, I'm gonna lead this group of rebels, and I'm stealing this very important thing for my own reasons. I'm like, I feel like I've seen this movie already. That's just me being mildly annoyed. But she plays it well. She does play it well because, I mean, holy shit, like she said, when she just looked at him, I was like, oh shit, she's about to just kick Bucky's ass. Oh no. And they were kind of outnumbered. I mean, I was like, that's a clever, what's the, do that where it's like, be hostage, but it turns out no, that's the leader, but also she just totally flipped the fucking tables on you, dude.
They're called sleepers.
And then they had their little they had their little Matrix Reloaded fight on top of the fucking truck. That's what I thought. I'm like, it's the Matrix. Yeah. I missed that fucking movie.
Yeah, but then
it's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, but then as they're getting their asses pretty well handed to them by this group of super soldiers that they've
and Red Wing.
And
rest in peace, Red Wing.
I know, rest in peace. Oh, he'll build another. There'll be another Red Wing. There's another Captain America.
Yeah,
out loud. You know, there's going to be another Red Wing. But this is when the new Captain
will not have a tracker in it.
This is when the new Captain America and his partner show up. Yeah, and you know what I found really weird? It's like they seem to get their asses kicked all around too, and I was kind of disappointed in that. It's like you've got these 4 highly trained people there, and yeah, I know this is a group of like what were there 7 or 8 super soldiers that were there against the 4 of these guys.
At least 6.
Yeah, these guys have fought like aliens and the Chitauri and shit like that, and or not Chitauri, but the fucking what are they called? The Kree and the Skrull. It's like, come on, you really can't handle these. I mean, if you think of it, they're supposed to be just another couple more versions of Bucky, so you figure they'd be able to handle it, but no. But new Captain America rolls up with his buddy. What is he? I forget what his rank is. His name is Hoskins, or he's called Battlestar. The first thing I thought of was like, God, that is a crappy fucking superhero name. So it seems really tacky. This doesn't work for me.
I mean, didn't Sam say that? Like, he's like, oh, yeah, what a great
name.
You
know what it stands for? It just so they can call him BS because that's all he is. It's a bunch of BS.
And he may be a good guy. he may be a legit good guy in the end. But I mean, he's gonna have to get us.
Oh, he may be a good guy. I just don't think he's very good at what he does.
He's the new guy. He's got to earn his wings if he wants to be a good.
Paul Heyman. He's a hype man. He's going in for Brock Lesnar, introducing him and talking for him. That's what he is.
Well, I'll give him a chance to earn his stripes, but he's got to do a lot better than he did in this fight scene because it didn't look good for a while. But obviously there was that one moment where the shield was going back to the new captain, and Bucky kind of grabbed it and thought for a minute, do I give it back to this guy or not?
I know, I loved it. I loved it.
He's kind of
yeah, but they were obviously really annoyed that this captain showed up, that the new captain showed up with his buddy, and then that is a really cool shot on the screen, by the way. It makes kind of a cool poster. But they were kind of annoyed that these guys showed up, which kind of just made the whole thing even more embarrassing for Bucky and Sam. But, after going through this whole thing, they have this whole long walk back to where they were going. And, of course, the new duo of superheroes rolls up, but a lot of this walk was just like some fun banter between these two. That was when you get the scene that we actually saw in the trailers a long time ago, where it's like, I can see your cyborg brain smoking and working, and all that. That was kind of funny. But in this scene, this is the first time we really get a chance to see these 4 guys at least try to coalesce and come together a little bit. It wasn't really working for Sam or Bucky for obvious reasons, but I do give this guy some credit. He was this new captain some credit. He says, "Look, we've obviously got this thing in front of us. We're going to be a lot better off working together moving forward. Can you guys look past your butthurt feelings and maybe come join the winning side and join up for the big win?" And there's still some trepidation, to say the least, on the part of Sam and Bucky.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that whole conversation, that interaction?
It almost seemed ridiculous because you knew that Falcon and Winter Soldier weren't going to team up. They didn't even want to get in the truck to fucking talk to him in the first place. It reminded me of the scene in the movie. It doesn't matter. But the point is, they get in the truck, they're talking, and it's like they're not even. They're just like Captain America and his buddy are like, you need us. Come on, you got to work with us. Otherwise, nothing gets done. And they're like, fuck you. We can do fine without you. And, Captain America's like, just let him go. Just let him go. And, you find out later because he's looking for an in to have them owe him. Yeah. He just wants to use them. He doesn't want to because that if they did work together, they would not take Captain America's, lead him as a leader in command and let him run the show. They'd be like, no, we're going to do it the right way, not the way that you just think we're supposed to. So they wouldn't toe the line. They're doing everybody a favor by not even agreeing.
Yeah.
It would just implode. It would be the Civil War movie all over again. could be like, no, this isn't going to work. Let's just fight amongst ourselves. And then the bad guy wins.
I think on a much smaller scale, because it's really just these two. I think most people involved with the Avengers would probably look at Sam and Bucky and say, hey, why don't you guys just, bury your shit for about 5 minutes and deal with this problem in front of you. And then after this problem is over with, you guys can go back to hating each other. And that's going to be just fine. But they seem to be a little immature about this thing. Is that what you're getting, Jeremy, at all this?
Yeah, because, as the wonderful therapy session showed, that's kind of, they need to talk their feelings out. And, Sam did say that. He's like, look, we're going to squash this right now. We're going to fucking, we're going to hold hands, deal with this first. And then we can just never see each other again. Like, sound good?
That was some bullshit. That was some bullshit. It was so stupid. I was cringing. I'm like, this is horrible plot dialogue here. Just like, they did not have to do this. Like, they could have done something else with this 3 minutes. I did not like it.
You can't tell me you don't like their banter and shit and having to get that damn close to each other.
Banter, I didn't mind, but the therapist angle of look into each other's eyes. It's like, no, it's just stupid shit.
She's just doing her job, just to make them uncomfortable.
But they didn't. I don't know.
You got to get uncomfortable to spill your guts out like that,
I don't know. This episode,
Bucky eventually did, as I'm sure we're going to talk about.
This episode reminds me of how Thor 3, the Ragnarok one, had more funny quips and comedy to it than, say, serious action. It's like, okay, are we here for an action show or are we here for comedy bits? And it's almost like it was too much of the comedy spectrum for me.
That's actually one of the things I didn't like about Thor, not to go too much into that, was that they kind of ignored the mythology and some of the great characters they had and just went for the joke.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just
and that's my issue with this episode.
Yeah,
maybe this is just the lead up to plot.
Well, if you think about it,
we talked about that when we were talking about Justice League, and it's like it's so much darker and it's a little more serious. There can be little comic relief bits here and there, little funny bits, but then it's like, no, this is some pretty dark shit and it's pretty serious. But then you have Marvel, which is the entire like polar opposite, and it's like, there's adventure level threats as they call them, but like they're cracking jokes, fucking like every other. Now it is funny. Like sometimes I like seeing them. I don't mind seeing Robert Downey Jr. just zing some people with some lines, but like kind of like.
Like, couldn't they have done the scene where they meet up with the guy who's in jail, Zemo? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't want to blow your.
Why couldn't they have done that? But couldn't they have like started a conversation with them instead of having the therapy scene?
Well,
I don't know.
You need that little. No, I actually like the therapy scene. I think the therapy scene is probably the most significant stuff of this series. We're only 2 episodes into it, but I think that's one of the more significant scenes in this series.
But there's
so
only
far.
6 episodes, though. It's like a third of the plot already.
Yeah. But we did have to establish what their relationship was going to look like once they finally got together again, and I think we did that. And we also had to establish over the course of this episode how they were going to react, and they did get face to face with the new Captain America and his sidekick. So there was plenty to do in this episode without trying to add in even the first part of a conversation with Zemo. But
you're right.
But you're going to spend probably the first half of the next episode dealing with that conversation all in one shot, which I think is probably going to be cooler. I don't know if you want to break that up into 2 different episodes.
Okay.
But after this, we see the super soldiers on the run, and this is where we get one of our first big questions that vexes us a little bit, for this whole storyline. Obviously, there's these groups of people that are everywhere that are willing to help their cause, and basically what these people think is that life was better during the snapping. I won't call it the blip. Life was better after Thanos snapped away half of all life in the universe, and they're trying to find some way to get back to that kind of an existence. I don't know what they think they're going to do, or how they think they're going to do it, or what stealing some medications is going to do for it all, but whatever.
They're going to kill everybody. My theory is they're going to release a disease, and they're stealing all the vaccines that could actually be used to save everybody.
That's possible, and I guess it kind of fits in with what's going on in real life right now, so maybe that would be, I guess maybe that would probably hit the right way. But, we're going to see over the course of the next episode or so, I'm sure. I have a feeling the next episode is going to pop off with some pretty big stuff. But, obviously they're getting some help with hiding out and moving around from just random people who are sympathetic to their cause. Now, when they get to this one house, or one, dive or, safe house, wherever the hell it is, the leader, the one girl, I forget her name. What did they call her? She finally gets identified in this scene.
Carly.
Was it
Karli. Carly.
Yeah,
Carly,
that's
yeah.
what it is. Carly Morgan.
I'm gonna keep calling her Emphas because I'm gonna forget.
Morgenthau? Carly Morgenthau. Why can't they just call her Smith? But anyway, it's like you have to give somebody a long-winded name. Anything more than 3 syllables, and I'm done. But she gets this weird text message. You guys see it on the screen. It's unknown, private number. You took what was mine. I'm going to find you and kill you. So that's the first big question that this thing poses to us. Is exactly who.
Like, how would they have her phone number? So she didn't care if the person who she took it from knew that she was taking it, almost as if it's part of her plan that they do. Because she put it in her pocket, like, okay, I took it, they know it, now my next step's going to fall into place. It's like it was all part of the job.
Yeah, it's like I said, your mind starts wandering. For one, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm ruling somebody out. No, it's not Mephisto. I've already had people heard people theorize online that Mephisto.
Well, it's probably humans.
It's clearly
it probably has
human.
no supernatural. It's I don't think there's any superhuman, super alien angle here. I think this is all human shit.
Oh yeah, me too. But fans can be kind of dumb about it
because they're mad at the large government. They even say when they're in the thing, "Oh, they're looking for us," and and there's some reference to the government and the fact that the government made a new Captain America. It all signs point to civil war amongst human beings here.
Yeah, you're preaching the choir here. I
think
it's
stirring the pot.
Yeah, really. But that is the first big question. So I'm automatically theorizing, who could this be? I mean, Jeremy, who do you think this might be? I know you're a little bit versed in the comic books and stuff. I know they're not doing direct adaptations of any comic book stories, but they are kind of, like I said, nitpicking here and there and creating this new universe around it all. What is your best guess right now, and after 2 episodes, who this is?
The person that texted her?
Yeah.
Sorry, because you cut out there, and I was just kind of like, well, I hope I know what he's talking about. Yeah, I don't know, because I'm assuming they might have been talking about, I don't know if they're talking about the vaccines or the medicine, whatever they're talking about. But then again, I'm like, how did these people, because even Sam says, how after 80 years, we still have 8 of these super soldiers running around free that we didn't know about? So maybe somehow they got the super soldier serum or something, and they're like, well, I know you took this shit, and I'm going to find you and kill you, so maybe it's, I don't know.
Oh, so they're new. They're newly made, per se. They're maybe working for someone, or they're rogue, and they're going off on their own, not knowing how to handle their powers, kind of thing?
Maybe, because like I said, even... Because when they were talking to the one guy that Bucky knew, because he was like, you're telling me, no one knew about him either. And that's just because Bucky didn't say anything. But I'm like, I don't know. Are these people brand new super soldiers, or have they been? But I feel like they might be newer people. I don't know. Maybe they somehow got a hold of the shit that
I doubt
Captain America had.
I doubt they're from the past like Bucky and Steve are. I think these are probably relatively. I think these are subjects of relatively new experiments. Because remember, in the comic books, they don't really talk. They don't really say it like this. Well, in the Incredible Hulk and anything else since then, because that first Hulk movie by Ang Lee wasn't part of this MCU. But one of the things that people need to remember is that Hulk was created because Dr. Banner was experimenting, trying to recreate the super soldier serum that gave us Captain America. So that's where Hulk comes from.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
So I'm
So
wondering,
is there a chance they're going to have Dr. Banner in here somewhere?
There's a possibility. I think the fact that Banner's already been name dropped, it could be an Easter egg.
Yeah, they did mention him.
It could just be a name drop. I'm not going to go running right to, oh my god, the Hulk's going to be in this somehow, but or Banner,
right.
or Nerdy Hulk, Professor Hulk, whatever the hell he is now after Endgame. But he may or may not. But I do think that they are probably the result of some kind of new level of experimentation. I'll tell you one thing I do think. I'm not entirely sure that they're bad guys. Yeah.
So they might be trying to save people.
I've seen enough. Because just on the surface of it, they're taking vaccines, and they talk about how they might be taking them to some refugee camps that are stocked up with people who came back after they were snapped back and they're trying to like find their place in the world again. That makes sense. That doesn't sound like a bad thing. As a matter of fact, when they walk into this house where the person's helping them hide, somebody even refers to them as Robin Hood. And Robin Hood, while a bad guy, he was robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. So you understand that his motives were not nefarious. He's trying to take shots at this evil king. So I think there's an analogy there that's important, and I think the line kind of ran past you a little bit. But if you really stop to think about it, I think it's a pretty big tell that maybe they are not bad guys in the way that they want to do damage. I think they're just doing what they feel needs done to help people, and that they would rather not be.
So maybe somebody.
Good. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so maybe
I was waiting. Go ahead.
So maybe somebody who has a lot of influence and access to these scientific experiments sees some like big world order, like Hydra-like kind of thing, about to poison half the world, makes these guys super soldiers, and is trying to get this vaccine or medical supplies out to the average everyday people, so that people can't die from whatever the threat that they have a heads up for it.
I'm thinking maybe they did. Maybe they are new and they stole this. Somehow got this super soldier serum. That's a really hard thing to say. Holy crap! Super soldier serum. You saw me struggle there for a second, didn't you? So I think maybe they got that during everybody being gone, or maybe like right when they started to come back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that'd be the best time to have gotten it. And then because they thought because didn't they mention like the government cares more about the people that came back than the ones who have been here the whole time. And as we heard from like WandaVision, even like the director, he was like, you don't have no idea how hard it was just to keep the lights on and just to get by. So they're already in a bad spot. And then economically, it's probably getting worse for them because all these people have to come back and still have to get their lives back together. And that's not an easy thing to do, and have billions of people just came back out of nowhere. So you start to think like, maybe this wasn't. We're just trying to do the right thing. The Avengers trying to bring all these people back because I mean we want them back, obviously. But then it's like this creates a whole fucking issue that maybe.
And it makes you wonder what they were taking in the first episode in the streets of whatever European country that was when the one guy got beat up. What were they taking that night? Because they obviously were stealing something.
I think they were after money.
Were they robbing a bank?
Well, I'm not entirely sure.
How would they take their money?
Well, because that character, it's I don't really know what they're doing with him. That's actually Batroc, and he was the one who Steve Rogers fought in the very beginning, the opening sequence of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when he's on the boat out in the ocean. That's Batroc.
Oh,
it's the same actor. It's George St. Pierre, and so there's been whispers for a long time that he was going to come back and play a role, but I don't know what his specific role is because he's clearly a bad guy. There's no avoiding the fact that he has nefarious purposes. But like I said, I don't get that vibe from these super soldiers, so I don't know that they're necessarily in league with one another, or maybe they're just two different factions of the same group. Maybe
because they didn't try to kill any of the four guys. Captain America and his buddy and Winter Soldier and Falcon. They didn't try to kill them. They just were trying to get them to go away.
True. Whereas Batroc would absolutely kill somebody if he had the chance or the need to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
especially people who have the ability to fly around the world in a moment and show up at scenes like this that they might not want them to show up again. But they sure seemed scared of the cars coming when they were at the airport, but they didn't give two shits. They're like, oh, okay, well, it's Captain America. Let's just shoo him away like a little bug. There didn't seem fear in that moment by them.
Yeah, that scene in the airport we're going to talk about here in a minute because there was some pretty significant dialogue that happened there as well. But after this whole thing in, where were they at? They were in Germany when that whole fight took place. They go back to the United States and Bucky decides to reach out to an old friend named Isaiah. Now, Isaiah, I forget, I'm drawing a blank in the name from the comics. Let me look at it real quick. Let's see. Elijah Richardson appears as Isaiah Bradley is the name of the guy that he goes to see. Older gentleman who Bucky knew from his days doing Winter Soldiery stuff in Korea in the 1950s. So, and this guy Isaiah, obviously they did not have a positive relationship last time they met. Isaiah only lets him in the building because he can't believe that this guy would actually show up because, you know, it takes a lot of gall apparently. They did not part of the best terms. But Isaiah Bradley is somebody, I'm trying to remember. Let me look this up real quick so I get it right. Because there have been several incarnations of a Captain America, some of them existing at the same time.
Oh. It's interesting what he says about they put me in jail. But yet he's out. So if he was a threat or a concern being super still strong or whatever, they sure keep him in jail. Like, why would they let him out if they put him in jail for being a threat? I mean, that was a question that got me. Okay, they had you in jail for 30 years, and now you're out. Why would they let you out knowing that you have these abilities still? But I guess we'll
maybe
find out.
like a witness protection kind of thing. Maybe they're just like, here, we'll just let bygones be bygones if you just don't do don't do this shit because we know you're real being.
And he gave a clue because remember what he was saying? What happened while he was in jail? He was they experimented on me. They took my blood. Blah 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 blah. Maybe all of that is what led to the ability to create these super soldiers that they're fighting.
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah,
because
like I said, he probably can't.
Okay,
he probably can't sneeze without them knowing it. So, like, if he does do anything, they'll probably know and they'll be after him again. So they have him like locked in that,
And they wouldn't have let him out if they didn't need him anymore. So they clearly got what they needed from his bio, whatever. So, oh my God, he might be the key.
Well, in the comic books, this ended up being the lead up to Steve Rogers. He's depicted as an early product of the United States Super Soldier Serum program, codenamed Project Rebirth during World War II, known by the title of Captain America. So he may have been one of the people they experimented on before they were confident enough in the experiment that they ended up putting Steve through. But he is depicted in the 2003 limited series, Truth, Red, White, and Black, the World War II Super Soldier Program 42, operated by somebody employing an alias previously used by Dr. Erskine, who was the one that created Steve Rogers, Captain America. The Rico's certain blah, 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 blah. Concept and creation was taken as an idea of inherent politics of wrapping a black man in red, white, and blue. Biography. I'm not going to go through his biography right now because that's probably, a whole lot to go into. But yeah, I knew that he had I knew that because we're going to talk about this guy a lot. I really don't think that this character was a one-off. I think he's going to be significant. He's going to be significant soon in this series.
Well, do you think Falcon's going to go back? Because when, Bucky's getting arrested, he stops in the street and they make a point of showing him looking at the house like, okay, I need to remember how to get back here.
I think it's possible. It could be. I think it's equally possible right now that Bucky is going to go back and is finally going to appeal to this guy's, better angels and say, hey, for whatever your hatred of me is, there's this bigger thing we need to deal with, and your help in dealing with it could be, the difference between us succeeding in this thing and us failing. But
exactly.
But it's kind of 50-50 as to who's going to go back. I think Sam going back would probably fit. I think that the character profile.
I think it would. I think the guy would respond to him better.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The character profile, him having to go through the stuff in the 40s, the idea of making, wrapping the black man in the red, white, and blue, and having him be the hero despite some of the, sentiments going on towards African Americans in the 40s. I think maybe some of that, maybe Sam would be able to connect with him for reasons obviously that Bucky can't. But at the same time, him and Bucky have a personal history. They are both apparently super soldiers. I mean, this guy takes that little canister of whatever it is, throws it across the room, and sticks it in the wall like a ninja star without really a whole lot of effort. I mean, it was really just out of reflex out of anger and not him trying too hard. So it's possible that he's going to show up back in here again. The one thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see the guy die. Because that's usually kind of how it happens with some of these characters.
I don't either.
It's like the one guy who has he can only change into the monster one more time, and then he's going to die or whatever. And then he does it to save the hero at the opportune moment to let him carry on the fight. I don't want to see anything like that. I want to see this guy last for a while and be alive at the end of the series. I don't know that he would be. I'll say I don't know if it would make sense to have him carry on deeper to the MCU, but to at least make sure he finishes the series upright, I think would probably be a way better deal. Go ahead.
I was going to say, or maybe they can get whatever blood or samples again that were taken from him before, and use it to try to figure out what the hell was done to create them, and maybe reverse engineer something that will deactivate. Maybe that's too sciencey for 4 more episodes.
Yeah, but
you get where I'm going with it.
Yeah, but they've got all that though. I mean, they've probably done a million of these experiments since Isaiah Bradley was part of the thing, so they've probably got all the information they need. It's I don't know. It's kind of it's a little
but
bit.
But who has access to it? I mean,
well, probably everybody.
And who?
Well,
I mean,
the government probably being everybody, but I mean,
yeah.
It makes sense to me that they already have all the information they need. Unless, of course, you're going to play that trope where he's the only one who has the gene. Or, I don't know, hey, maybe this is how they introduce mutants. Everybody's just looking for every little thing to introduce a mutant into the MCU. Maybe he's a mutant. I doubt it, but, I don't think you're going to introduce mutants in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that's just me. But, they do end up getting arrested, of course, and they go through this whole therapy thing after leaving Isaiah's house. And this is where you get... Look, I mean, it kind of comes to a head. It blows up here a little bit between Bucky and Sam. It's like, and for one, they get arrested. I won't go into the scene because a lot of people are making a big deal out of that scene in the street. I just don't think it was. I mean, a good scene it was. I just don't think it was all that significant. But they, you know
why they were making a deal about it.
I know why they're making a deal about it. That's why I'm not going to talk about it. But I mean, but it's significant. I mean, it's where. I mean, partially it is. It's where Bucky and Sam really kind of start to break down the walls and get honest with each other. And that honestly really starts in that scene in the street where they're kind of having it out a little bit. It's starting to boil over a bit. And that was kind of the point that you almost feel like they needed to get to for them to start being honest with each other. Now, after they get arrested, of course, new captain shows up to bust them out because he says anyway that he still wants to work with them to deal with whatever this problem is for these new super soldiers. But part of getting them out is that his, stupid mean therapist has to show up and give them a therapy session right then and there. Not just for Bucky, of course, but a little bit of couples therapy between him and Sam as well, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. For one, I still don't like this therapist.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's kind of a bitch. It's nothing against the actress, it's the character, of course. I know that she has a governmental background herself, because she even mentions running some missions with Walker in the past. So she's obviously not just a therapist. She's obviously some kind of an agent of some kind. I didn't really get that from the first episode. From this episode, she says it very clear. She says clearly, we ran missions together in the past. And I'm like, what kind of a therapist are you that you're just out there in, the battlefield doing things?
Well, maybe she wasn't actually in the battle, but she was like an operations person. That
True.
Communications person.
True.
It's in the truck, down the road,
like a debrief or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting though that she has apparently been in the mud a little bit, so to speak, and that she's got a history not only as an operator but also with Walker, which I thought was kind of interesting.
It's just like the preacher from fucking Firefly. You're like, he's not really a preacher, is he?
Yeah.
Glad we never got to fucking explore that.
But that scene.
Sorry, I'm still bitter.
Just won't let it go, will you, Jeremy?
No.
Hardcore.
And that movie didn't help his character either.
Hardcore fans just can't let it go. But
not even dude. He fucking still dresses up like him in that other show, and he's like, "What are you supposed to be? I'm a space cowboy." She's like, "Didn't you wear that like 10 years ago?" He's like, "I like it." And I'm like, he like comes out in the actual suit from the show, like for a Halloween costume in this other show, and I'm like, yeah, he's not letting it go either.
Yeah, but yeah, that moment where they're sitting there, knees interlocked, which is absolutely comical. there is this one. Bucky,
couple.
Yeah, Bucky does finally. I think they both kind of reach this point where they break and say a couple of things that really needed said. And the first thing that happens is Sam finally just flat out says, "Look, I don't expect you to understand because you're not me. I don't expect you to understand my relationship with Steve because it was my relationship with Steve. But I'm done trying to tell you that it was just my decision. You need to move the fuck on with it." And there's obviously some emotion on his part. And you do get that sense, like I said, that when he was looking at the shield in the first episode as he's getting ready to put it in the case, that he, as much as he may want to kind of carry on Steve's legacy, he doesn't feel worthy. He doesn't know if he's deserving of, not of the mantle, but even to use the shield, even to keep the shield. He doesn't know that he's worthy. And I think that's part of where his emotion was coming from. Cora, did you get that from what Sam was saying during that whole therapy session?
I did, but I also took from it that he doesn't really feel like it's Bucky's business. Like, he feels like his relationship with Captain America is separate from anything that has to do with Bucky. But what he doesn't realize is Bucky coming back had no connections with anybody. And so anybody who was, in Captain America's circle was somebody that he was going to try to connect with because that's the one person he could trust in the world. And I don't think that Sam is taking that into account.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and then Bucky comes back, and Jeremy, this was, I think, one of the most poignant little monologues of this series so far. He says something that it really does punch you in the gut. When Sam
it did. I was supposed to say it slapped me right in the face.
Yeah, when Sam says, this isn't none of your business, why does it bother you? Bucky says flat out, because if Steve was wrong about you, then he may have been wrong about me. Bucky's biggest struggle is internal. He can fight anybody that rolls up and wants to throw hands with him, but they say the demons inside are the ones that are the hardest to fight, and he's worried that Steve was not just his friend from childhood. I mean, when he had been overtaken by this persona of the Winter Soldier, Steve was the one guy who said, "I think there is more Bucky in there than Winter Soldier, and I'm going to fight for that guy, even if it kills me." And that is not lost on Bucky. So and Bucky even says, when he says that line, there's a small crack. Now, I don't know if this was intentional and that's he's that good, but the actor's that good, but I think it may have been. His voice even cracks a little bit when he says those last couple words. Like, it is really getting to him. Like, it's coming from a place that's very, very deep. And that was very significant. He says, if Steve was wrong about you carrying that legacy, maybe he was wrong about me too. And maybe I can't be saved. My soul is 100% lost. And that's clearly a fear that dogs him morning, noon, and night.
Yeah. He's looking for validation that he's redeemable. But he's not getting it from Sam. Sam just wants to get the job done. Tunnel vision. Bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. I don't care about a personal relationship with you, Bucky. And all their prior engagements where they interacted in all the movies thus far, I haven't seen all of them yet. They're so busy fighting bad guys, there's no time for personal connection. And so I don't know, it's just like Bucky wants connection. Sam doesn't give a fuck. He's struggling reconnecting with his own family, let alone, saving the family business and, doing this bad guy shit or trying to stop the bad guy shit. And Bucky just seems like he's looking for more from Sam than Sam wants.
Yeah.
It's just innuendo, maybe.
I think maybe they're looking for a little bit of validation.
And because the one guy who believed in him,
oh.
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible that they...
Like you said, the one person that really believed in Bucky is gone.
Yeah. And he doesn't really want to talk to his therapist.
Yeah,
and she pulled up his phone. I mean, she showed proof. You haven't called anybody but me in the last week. And yeah, he's got the old guy that he has lunch with, but that's more about redeeming himself. He kind of ruined it with the chick just walking out of their date. So I think he's trying to kill two birds with one stone. Get some and build a personal connection at the same time. Otherwise, I could totally see Bucky when he's in there with a therapist go, fuck, I'm not going into a therapy session. I'm not going to sit down and talk with him. Like, why the fuck am I going to do that? Captain America said I'm done with therapy. Fuck this. I appreciate all you fucking said, but I'm not doing this. But no, he went into the room and they had the conversation. So there has to be some personal investment there.
I agree. There has to be. But, after...
Very odd couple.
Yeah, again, it is almost a romantic relationship between the two, which I find absolutely hilarious. It's there are elements of that without it being romantic. You know what I mean?
I do. If you've seen the Odd Couple movie that was based on the play from the 60s, it has the vibe. Yeah.
It definitely has that vibe. But
actually, it reminds me of the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith, because didn't it open and end on them in a therapy session? I'm like, yeah, they're here, two badass like secret agents kicking ass, but they're still sitting here in therapy trying to connect with one another. So.
Yeah.
Why did I try to find my donation scene? Because we actually had a subscriber I want to show some love to. Ah, there it is. It actually does work. I don't know why it was coming up black in the preview.
Cool.
But we do have a new subscriber. Mr. James Messner. I don't know why it's playing. Why does it take so long to play this? He subscribed yesterday. I'm not so sure where he came from, but hey, I'm just glad he's here. Maybe he came from that...
James Messner. He's a regular over at Joe's, and sometimes he pops into Drew's.
Oh, that's cool. Well, hey, welcome, James.
I think he donated to Drew on Sunday.
That's cool. Well, glad you're here, James. We hope you're a big enough fan of the Marvel stuff, especially since we're going to be talking a lot about that over the course of the next summer with all they're giving us, and that you come back for more. Yeah, we're definitely glad you're here. But before we move on any farther, I'm going to have to do Jeremy's favorite part now. Let's talk about the Patreon real quick.
Yay!
I'll try to make this sweet. I'll try to make it short and sweet. If you become a patron,
not a bad thing,
and support the channel for just $5 a month, you can win $25 a month in free movie tickets. We are actually giving those away on Thursday, just a couple of days. That's going to be the drawing for April. It's going to be just a couple of days. So if you join the Patreon before Thursday show, you can be entered for the Thursday drawing for $25 in free movie tickets. This is not to support the production companies at all. This is really just to support the people that are working at the theaters, trying to make ends meet. And as theaters are finally starting to reopen across the country after this last year of everything that we've all dealt with, it's going to be very important to go out there and support these people. They're just trying to make a living the same as you guys are. So I'm going to give you guys $25 a month, or one of you lucky winners anyway, $25 a month in free movie tickets, just for supporting us for $5 a month. So if you help us out, we'd really appreciate that. Also, some of you maybe have noticed, I haven't really been plugging a lot because it feels like eBaying and I don't like it. But we have switched over from Streamlabs to Stream Elements. You don't have to have an account with Stream Elements if you want to donate and have your comment, or if you subscribe live during the show and it'll pop up on the screen. If you want to support the channel that way and throw us a couple of bucks as well, that'd be awesome too, if you so choose. But back to the important stuff. After the
one more thing real quick though, you're right though, it's important because last night, remember, the Rose Gaming was talking about the theater his 10 went out of business.
Yeah.
So it's actually happening. So
yeah, very important to go support as many businesses as you can, as much as you can over the course of the next year to try to get everybody, try to get the entire world kind of back to whatever the normal is going to be from here on out. It's going to be very helpful. We're hoping to play a part in that. But obviously after this therapy session, we finally get a name of a bad guy. Now these super soldiers are trying to put some of these things that they've stolen into an airplane so they can make their getaway. And somebody calls one of the guys and tips them off that whoever is after them is on their way. And when she says who's on their way, she says it's the power brokers people. So obviously we have the name of the villain, one of them anyway, or
the people she stole from,
or some. We don't know.
Remember, they said, "I'm going to come find you and kill you."
Like I said, I
think it's the people she stole from.
We have no idea who's who yet.
Because here's the thing: if it's the people she stole from, it's possible they had tracking devices in the packet in the whatever she stole. Because how else would they find her in this remote airport? I don't know. It's just a thought.
If you exist in the intelligence community, that thing is probably a lot easier than you think. But we finally do put a name to somebody who's an antagonist, and that's the pawnbroker. And they send somebody to try to deal with these super soldiers and get their shit back. And one of these guys, very heroically, and this is one of the things about this episode that makes me think that these people aren't all bad. One of these guys very heroically sacrifices himself so that his teammates can get away with whatever this medication stuff is. Again, these people seem to have, these super soldiers, whoever they are, they seem to have a positive purpose. If not a positive way of doing things, a positive purpose. So, again, I don't know that they're the bad guys necessarily. I have a feeling that in the next couple of episodes, we may end up seeing these super soldiers and Sam and Bucky and maybe even the new captain and everything kind of working together to deal with the bigger problem. You guys think that's a possibility?
It might all come to a head at some point.
I think everything's up in the air, but I think you're right about the super people. I think even if they're wrong, I think they're driven by what they think is a good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a very telling moment in a lot of ways. Now, obviously, this leads to, you know, Sam and Bucky trying to figure out exactly what they can do to try to, take care of this whole situation. And the only person they feel like they can go to who has that kind of knowledge of Hydra, especially from the long history of Hydra, is Zemo. And they, he convinces Sam to go see Zemo, and this is the last shot we see is of Zemo looking up as if he knows something is coming. But this is a very interesting setup for what could be coming for the rest of the series.
This screams bad idea.
Yeah,
This screams bad idea talking to him.
But that's
like as soon as they said it, I'm like, I don't know.
But this is what's weird is by the end of this episode, Jeremy, does it feel like they set up like 4 different bad guys? It's like you have these super soldiers who, like I said, I don't think they're necessarily bad guys, but they're probably not going to make things entirely easy for the good guys. You have this pawnbroker who got their name, who finally got named. So we have no idea if that's an organization or a specific person. You have Helmut Zemo, who is now in the mix, and he's not going to be a good guy at all. And you also have Batroc that's out there from the first episode. So there's 4 different bad guys we're going to have to deal with over the course of 6 episodes. And at the end of the next episode, that's the halfway point. We are already almost halfway through this series. There's only 6 episodes in the series.
I think they're going to have to do something as a follow-up beyond these 6 episodes. I don't see how they can tie it up in a nice little bow. I'm skeptical.
Well, it could just be that the action happens really,
why
really fast.
Why not 9 episodes?
It could just be that the action happens really, really fast. I mean, because you're telling a much different story in this series than you were telling with WandaVision. So just telling kind of a straight-up action buddy cop thing. I mean, while they've been terribly entertaining over the years, they're not really hard stories to tell necessarily. Not that I've ever tried to write one or make a movie, but they're not. I mean, there is kind of a formula to it, and if you stick to that basic formula, you're going to come up with something good. But I mean, if you think about it, we're getting way more than a buddy cop movie out of all this. Every one of these episodes is going to be 40+ minutes long, so we're getting quite a lot of screen time for what is usually an hour and a half or 2 hour long buddy cop movie that we see at the theaters, like a Tango and Cash or something like that. So there's a whole lot we have time to explore a lot of things, but still, it's only 6 episodes long. We're going to have to explore pretty fast. And to top it off, we still haven't got Sharon Carter yet. I have a feeling she's going to pop in the next episode because there's not a whole lot of time left to introduce anybody to the show, and she is definitely in the show. So,
well, they are running out of time. They spend way too much time on small stuff that I hope ends up being key in the future, but I have a feeling some of the stuff they included will not. And they will, I don't know. I'm not liking this one as much as WandaVision, but I like the tie-in to the stuff, the movies. And I'm very curious, what is this a stepping stone for? This mini, is this just a continuation to give a little bit more storyline to both of these main characters and give a little more history of what happened after the blip? Or are they actually going to be a jumping off point from this where there's like a big deal, or is this like a fertile ground for a bad guy to be in a new movie?
Well, one thing that Marvel has not always been great at is villains. It's like they hit home runs with Loki and Thanos overall. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the villains have all been kind of, I mean, that's the one thing that even hardcore Marvel fans are kind of like, not so great. Could have gone for a better villain. I personally don't see the problem with it, but a lot of Marvel fans have kind of
take some hints from DC.
You said that when we were reviewing the movie. You're like,
but if you think about it, though,
that's the thing. We do that well.
The villains in the standalone movie, though, aren't meant to be high-level villains. They're meant to push the hero's story a little farther. I mean, that's what what's his name was in Iron Man. Jeff Bridges' character.
Yeah.
That's what that's what Ego was supposed to be in the last Guardians of the Galaxy. He wasn't meant to be some kind of force that was so great that all the Avengers had to come together. They were supposed to push this. They were supposed to push this one character's particular story down the road, and that's what put.
So you're kind of pushed Peter Parker into a corner.
Yeah, and that kind of pushes. I mean, honestly, how long do you think it would have taken for all the Avengers to deal with what's his name, with Mysterio? It would have taken about 5 minutes. That wouldn't even have been a movie. But it has to do with the individual struggle of that character. So I mean, I get it.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a whole lot going on here still that we need to get explained, and I have a feeling it's going to be explained fast because again, only 6 episodes, not 9. But I do have an interesting theory. I'm already starting to theorize who the bad guys are. Okay.
I want to hear.
She gets this text message saying, "You stole from me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kill you." Blah blah blah. Whatever that text message said. You obviously doesn't identify them right then and there. So I thought it odd, and I don't like the fact that it was I think it was odd that it was explained away so easily why they were there. But as Sam and Bucky are taking on the super soldiers on top of these moving big rigs, I found it odd that Walker and his buddy show up right at that time. It's almost like they were watching the transport and kind of escorting it to make sure it was supposed to be getting to where it was going. Now,
it seems really convenient.
I have no basis for this other than just some wild speculation. I know nothing about it, but I know in the comic books this guy Walker who is basically was it agent or a U.S. agent? He was not always a good guy. He was a bit of an anti-hero. And there were times.
Didn't he go up the handle when his family got murdered and he killed a bunch of people?
Something like that, yeah. But I mean, so, and maybe that's going to be a thing. I mean, we were introduced to his wife. Maybe she's going to pop back. I don't think it's. I think if she's not. I think if she's not going to play an integral part in the story at some point, either by. Either by being the damsel in distress or just being some foil, or. If she wasn't going to be a significant part, there was no reason to have her even in the first 5 minutes of this episode.
That's right.
So I think that by introducing her and giving you a moment with her and kind of taking that moment to see them together and they love each other and they're a happy couple and she's so supportive, that you're trying to build a little bit of a rapport with her, between her and the crowd and the audience, that will help you understand, like, when something bad happens to her in the future, that's why he's going to lose his shit and flip. But I it's just speculation. I don't know, but I do feel like it was odd that he shows up at just the right time, and the whole "we tracked you through your little fucking drone." I was like,
Yeah,
I mean,
like that.
I buy it, but I don't buy it. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
But whatever. I mean, do you guys think that's a possibility, or is there something else some other kind of speculation that hits you guys? I mean, you may as well throw it out there now. I mean, because that's what we do with these shows, is we speculate after every one of them.
I think all of this Captain America seeming like he has all this intel is going to maybe force Falcon and Winter Soldier to go rogue, like more rogue than you ever imagined them to be. Like, maybe they're going to work with this fucker they're going to go talk to. And then that'll go really badly. Like, maybe they'll break him out of prison or wherever he's at, so he can combat this shit. And then all of a sudden now they've got that on their hands, and now they're, in trouble with Captain America because he said, "Stay out of my way." Well, what does that mean? I mean, yeah. I think it's going to get a lot uglier before we see any clarity.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, too. When he breaks him out of jail, there is that scene where they're talking right there in the street by the police cars. And he tells him flat out, "If you're not going to be on my team, stay the hell out of my way." And there was a bit of firmness in his voice when he said that. So I'm wondering if that is a kind of a harbinger of some of the conflict that may come between, the Sam and Bucky and Captain America and Battlestar Galactica, whatever the hell his name is.
And that's what Jeremy was saying at the beginning. He goes, "Yeah, sure, he seemed cool, but the last thing he said really got your feelers out. Maybe he's not this, goody two-shoe."
Yeah, like I say, when he did that, and he just kind of was like, "Yeah, all right, well then, fuck you guys, and don't even try and help. Just stay out of my way." I was like, "All right, calm down." It's just Mr. Star Spangled fucking. Let's get out of here. But I mean, Sam does make a good point. He's kind of like, "Well, we're not tied to anything. You guys are. So I mean, fucking have fun. Good luck. Well, we're gonna go do our thing."
Yep.
But
like, we don't need you.
Yeah,
we don't need your rules and regulations.
Yeah, that was just a little bit of speculation on my part as I was watching the episode again today. It's like, for one, he got this mysterious text message, and then he just happens. Well, before that, he happens to just kind of show up. It seemed a little too convenient for me.
Yep.
That would be, you know what? It would be really telling then, because Red Wing is gone now, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we tracked you through Red Wing," and I'm like, "Well, now he's gone." So if he just magically shows up again, what's your excuse now? Because I mean, I don't know if Sam's gonna fix it in that time, or like what he's gonna do. But if they show up again and he hasn't, like, you know, then how did you just know to be there? You know,
True.
New Captain America with the government in your back pocket or not, I don't care. You're just kind of like always showing up in these places. You don't just randomly. Captain America doesn't just randomly summer in fucking Munich, Germany for no reason, following these fucking terrorists or whatever the fuck they are, taking medicine from people. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I don't see them busting Zemo out of jail. I see Zemo being opportunistic and trying to bust himself out. I mean, he's obviously going to end up outside at some point, because we've already seen all the screen, or not screen grabs, but the set pictures of him in the full on Baron Zemo face mask and all that. Definitely inspired by the comic book look. So he's definitely going to get out at some point. I don't know that Bucky and Sam. I don't know that they're going to help him do anything. I don't think that either one of them is dumb enough to look at him, especially after the events of Civil War, and say, "Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and help you bust out of jail because we need to team up this time." They know the best place for him is behind bars.
Do you think they could inadvertently give him information they shouldn't, that gives him a way to get out or do something he shouldn't?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. As far as how they, I don't think it's gonna be. I think Zemo's just gonna find an opportunity. He's gonna find some kind of a crack in the armor, and he's gonna use that to bust out. Yeah. That's probably what's gonna happen. And then he's gonna cause whatever havoc he's gonna cause. But I find it
he's
hard
gonna pull a line.
I find it hard to believe right now, thinking that he has anything to do with these super soldiers or the vaccinations. Because remember, in Civil War, he went and killed all those remaining super soldiers. He didn't want them around. He thought, at least during the course of this movie, that... You froze up a little bit.
That made the ability to make more later if he wanted to.
Well, no, he makes very clear that he doesn't.
Or something.
Yeah, he makes very clear in Civil War that he thinks super soldiers is a bad idea. He went in there, he killed all those super soldiers in their little cryo tubes, and was planning on Tony taking care of Bucky.
You don't think he could have been sneaky and like taken some serum or the files or something so that he could later, make an army of his own if he wanted?
It's possible, but that kind of goes against everything that he was about when we saw him in Civil War.
Okay.
Now, for him to turn his point of view like that would be a little weird. It'd be tough to explain, especially considering that his personal stakes in Civil War were very vengeful. I need to break up the Avengers, and I need to get rid of these super soldiers. These super soldiers are a bad idea. So he kills all the super soldiers in their cryo sleep, and kind of leads Bucky and Tony into the situation, and then exposes the truth about Bucky killing Tony's parents, so that Tony will deal with Bucky. Harsh. So that was harsh. Yeah, that was definitely his plan. I don't know, but then again, maybe prison changes a man, and he suddenly thinks this is a good idea. And he's just turned full heel, rather than being a sympathetic bad guy, because you do sympathize with what he's feeling in Civil War. But maybe he's just gone full heel, to use a wrestling term, and instead of being a sympathetic bad guy, he's all bent on world destruction now. So, I don't know. Anything's possible. It depends on how they write it. And, they wrote it how they wrote it, and we're going to find out over the course of the next few weeks. But it is interesting that we're looking at 4 different bad guys right now.
I love the climactic ending, though, with showing sitting there. Because they could have just let him go talk to him. But no, they let you see him, like little,
You know,
I like
Marvel's good at building the dramatics.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's good at a lot of things. Building the dramatic moment is definitely one of them. But you know, that's pretty much what we saw out of this episode. Cora, do you have any closing thoughts as we get out of here?
Eager to see episode 8, hoping there's a curve to like actual serious plot activity and not more introductions.
Yeah, I think we're probably done with the introductions with the exception of Sharon Carter. We're definitely going to see her in the next episode, I think. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, this might have to start, because we're going to be halfway there, so it's going to have to start reaching the peak and then start tying up a little bit, going back downhill. So, like we've said before with WandaVision, like this might be that point where it just pops the fuck off real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second, this being, go ahead.
Do you think they could sneak in more episodes and say there's only 6, but there's actually going to be more?
No.
Or is that not new?
No, they said the same thing about WandaVision.
Okay.
There was some rumor going around that there was some hidden 10th episode that nobody was going to know about until it dropped the next week. No, I don't think Disney plays around like that. I think if they say 6 episodes, it's 6 episodes. And on top of that, I mean, they're on a pretty tight schedule with all this stuff. So you don't just want to like have a 10th episode pop, or an extra episode pop up out of nowhere. They have to get this universe moving, you know, back down the line because, you know, again, we were supposed to have a lot of
they have
stuff
Loki coming up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I mean, and I don't know if some of this stuff may kind of carry over to Loki. I still don't really know much about what that show's about. I know that there's going to be little things that kind of connect it all together because this is Marvel. But as far as whether anything that happens in this show affects the Loki show or anything else coming, I really don't know. There's supposed to be some character crossover, but maybe not necessarily story crossover. You know what I mean?
I do.
But yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're definitely getting Sharon Carter the next episode, I think. And from what I've read about what her character is going to be going through, she is very much in a similar situation to Bucky and Sam. Is that she's feeling a bit lost, a bit burned. I mean, she was a SHIELD agent, and SHIELD was basically a shitty organization. She was a CIA agent, and she ended up on the run after the events of Civil War because she gave you know Steve the shield and everything back. So she's going to be in a dark place too, from what I've read. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Sharon Carter over the course of the next episode as well. And of course,
who I know nothing about, by the way.
She's Peggy
I'll
Carter's
have to do
niece.
some research online.
Yeah, she's Peggy Carter's niece.
Oh, the one who she was the main actress in the TV show Revenge on ABC.
Yes,
her name's Emily Van
Camp.
She's fantastic. When I saw her pop in one of the movies when I was watching, oh my god!
and she's a pretty she's a pretty good Sharon Carter too. I really like her in the role, but we're definitely going to see her. I think in the next episode. I don't think they're going to wait too much longer to go ahead and introduce her to the show. And then it's just going to be balls out from there. I think by the time we get to the end of this next episode, like I said, it's going to be the halfway point, and it's just going to be you know, all out, you know, pedal to the floor, and it's all going to happen really quickly. So the next episode I think is going to be an exciting one, especially if you're a fan of the actiony stuff. I think a lot of the action is going to pop off in this next episode. But yeah, a couple of great characters we were introduced to, and I really think that this is going to be a very cool show. This was actually the show more than any other show when it got announced. I was looking forward to this show more than anything else, more than WandaVision, more than anything. This was the one that I really wanted to see.
Really?
Oh yeah. When they told us when they released publicly the concept of this show at I think it was at Comic-Con about 2 years ago. It's like people were like, okay, let's see this now. We want this right now. And another thing they're doing with this show that I think is pretty cool is the cool thing about doing these individual shows like WandaVision, this, Loki, so on and so on, is that you get to really dissect these characters a lot more and get to know them at a personal level more than you would ever be able to get to do in a 2-hour movie. So, I mean, you really break down who Wanda is in WandaVision and what really makes her tick. You're getting a lot of the same thing in this. It's what are these? Let's focus on these personal struggles that these two people are going through. We know that they put on, you know, the suits and the wings, and he's got his vibranium arm, and they go beat up bad guys. But when they're not doing that, what's happening to these people? And they're also continuing to explore the aftermath of the snap. Because, a lot of people, when you're watching Endgame, you think to yourself, okay, Hulk snapped, everybody came back, happily ever after. It was never going to be like that. They're actually addressing a lot of the questions that people had after Endgame. They were like, what happened to these people that were gone for 5 years? 5 years passed, they come back. It's not, they're they're all suffering from the problem that Steve Rogers suffered when he came out of the ice at the end of Captain America: The First Avenger. They're out of time. They are not where and when they were. So a lot of people were dealing with problems, and it shows that the consequences of Hulk snapping everybody back even affects people like Sam and everything he's going through with his sister and trying to keep the family business going. So they are really exploring a lot of the aftermath of the Infinity Saga, which I think is really interesting. I think it humanizes these characters in ways that comic book characters aren't normally humanized. I mean, Bruce Wayne. We see Bruce Wayne brooding around Wayne Manor, and then he puts on the suit, and he goes and fights Joker. I mean, I think some of the best iterations of Batman have been the ones where they've kind of cut down through the cape a little bit, and they've gotten to Bruce Wayne a bit, and kind of let whatever actor explore that character. But, and
I agree.
But yeah, it's something we haven't gotten a lot of it with comic book characters, and I think it's working out great for Marvel. They're doing a great job handling it, and I'm really excited for the rest of this series and what's coming up. But anyway, thank all you guys for joining us. Thanks again to James Mesner for subbing to the channel. I hope you guys like what you see. And we will see you guys on Thursday as we go into our favorite Guilty Pleasure movies. I have a couple that I think might shock you, a couple that may not, but a couple that may kind of make you raise your eyebrows and wonder if I've gone nuts or not. But we will see you on Thursday, and thank you very much. Adios.